So far, in all the questions that we have looked at related to the financial market, we have considered the case where the central bank chooses the money supply and lets the interest rate adjust to restore financial market equilibrium. But now we want to, in this question, look at the case where we can think of the central bank as choosing the interest rate and then adjusting the money supply to ensure this interest rate is consistent with equilibrium in the financial market. So in this question, we're given the money demand function, we're given the nominal income, and we're told that we should consider a case where the only bank in the economy is a central bank, and we're not considering any commercial banks that are collecting deposits from the public. So the first part says that the central bank targets an interest rate of 5%, and we need to see what is the money supply the central bank must create to achieve this interest rate target. So let's start with part A. So part A. Now the idea is that the central bank will set MS is equal to M will set such that it makes the target interest rate such that it makes the target interest rate which is I is equal to 5% consistent with equilibrium in financial market. This means basically the idea is that you need to choose the money supply such that your target interest rate is what the equilibrium interest rate in the financial market is. Otherwise, market forces will try to change it. Because obviously, if the target interest rate is not the equilibrium interest rate in the financial market, then there'll be pressure on it to change. Where we know if there's an excess money demand at that interest rate, there'll be pressure on it to increase. If there's excess money supply, there'll be pressure on it to fall. So the central bank needs to choose the money supply such that this target interest rate is what the equilibrium interest rate in the financial market would be, so that there's no pressure on it to change. Otherwise, market forces will try to change that, right? So basically, you want the target interest rate to be such that it's consistent with equilibrium in the financial market, where equilibrium in the financial market occurs when money supply is money demand. So the money supply you're setting at M to make it consistent. Money demand is given to us as 100 times 0.25 minus 5%. What is the 100 here? 100 over here is the nominal income $Y, and the 5% here is the target interest rate. And you want to set the money supply M such that this target interest rate is consistent with the equilibrium where money supply is money demand. And from here we can solve for M is $20. So if the central bank chooses this money supply, then we know the equilibrium interest rate in the financial market will be equal to the target interest rate of 5%. So that's the idea. So if the central bank wants to increase I from 5% to 10%, what is the new level of money supply it must create? Let's see. So all of this is the same. The central bank will set limits such that makes the new target interest rate I is 10% consistent with. So now the central bank wants to set the money supply such that the new target interest rate is consistent with equilibrium in the financial market where MS is MD. So you'll set MS equal to M. MD is still 100, which is $Y. Now 0.25 minus 10%. So here we know 100 is the nominal income $Y given to us in the question. This is the new target I. And from here, we can solve for M is $15, right? So if you want that the target interest rate is 10%, so you want to make sure this is consistent with financial market equilibrium, and for that you said the money supply is $15 because then money supply is money demand at this interest rate of 10%. Now the question asks us to explain, so this was like part B, first part. Now the second part is describe the process by which the central bank can implement this change in habit. So we're seeing that the central bank can increase I. So we saw the central bank can increase I from I is 5% to I is 10% through a decrease in MS from M is equal to $20 that we found in part A to M is $15 in part B1 that we found, right? So we're seeing in order to increase the target interest rate from 5% to 10%, the central bank will reduce the money supply from 20 to 50. How will the central bank reduce the money supply? The central bank can decrease money supply through a contractionally open market operation. Through a contractionally open market operation. And we know open market operation, the buying and selling of bonds by the central bank for money, right? Through a contractionally open market operation in which central bank sells bonds for money, in which sells bonds for money, thus withdrawing money from circulation and reducing the money supply. So we talked about how when the central bank wants to set a target interest rate, it will achieve that by setting the money supply such that this target interest rate is consistent with equilibrium in the financial market, so that there's no pressure on it to change. And the central bank can change the target interest rate by adjusting the money supply, where if it wants to increase it, it will reduce the money supply. If it wants to decrease it, it will increase the money supply. And it can achieve changes in money supply through open market operations, which are buying and selling of bonds for money by the central bank. In this case, because it wanted to increase the interest rate, so it had to reduce the money supply through contractionally open market operation.